Hi, I'm Edwin Samuelson, and welcome to the CineFiles, your weekly film fix, aka the show that allows you to eavesdrop on the conversations of fellow film fans. This week, we're going to continue off where we left last week. We were talking about Danny Boyle and his films, and we were talking about a film that we really liked, but we ran out of time. And the film was Sunshine, which is Danny Boyle's latest film, a science fiction film, which is one of the best science fiction films we've seen in a while. We're going to get into that in just a moment. Also, we're going to be after we talk about Sunshine, we're going to talk about two British films that were made by one wonderful filmmaker, and that is Edgar Wright. He made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, both of which are on DVD and highly worth checking out, and we're going to analyze them and tell you why they're so good. But before I begin, let me introduce my co-host. To my left, Eric Cohen. To his left, Michael Fultz. And today, I did call you host.
Thank you. But let's get on with it.
And also, I want to say Jeff could not be here today, but we love you, Jeff, wherever you are.
He's here in spirit.
Yes, he is. And I wanted to say two quick things. I want to thank our crew. Our show would not be the way it is, as good as it is, without Gloria Messer and George Sortorellis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
Very much
we really
so.
want to acknowledge you guys. Thank you, George, especially, for staying a little today. Also, I want to tell you, please look at the dates. They'll be posted in a minute. We have a few more live shows coming up. We did some recently. It turned out wonderful, thanks to you guys, and we want to make this a bi-monthly occurrence. So if you call in, we'll keep doing them. So the dates are there at the bottom, and please call in. Also, check out our websites for more info on the dates if you missed them, or you want to see more get more information on the show, or see some shows you missed. All right, well, guys, I'm excited. This Sunshine, just speaking about it, just makes me have so much enthusiasm. When I saw this film, I saw it opening day because I read a lot about it in magazines. Unfortunately, screw Fox, 20th Century Fox, because they did not, there's no ads on TV. There's no real coverage.
Terribly promoted.
I cannot believe the coverage.
Gee, a Rupert Murdoch vehicle doing a poor job at something?
You think,
surprising,
what's so
crazy.
Funny, it's so funny is that you have Fox TV, you have the newspaper, and there's no ads for this thing, really. I mean, there is.
It had a lot of internet.
Yeah.
Exposure, and I think they're trying to push that kind of thing, but it is sad that it hasn't gotten the. I don't know why they're not promoting this more, because the only thing I could think of is like, it's too visceral, or it's too,
it's too intelligent, if you ask me.
But it's really, people go out and see this film. It's the best science fiction film in years.
Please support it. I mean, it's really
smart.
Great. It's great.
And it's been really not giving. It has not been given a very fair read by some critics out there.
It's gotten some good reviews. AM New York, which is here in New York, gave it 4 stars.
Richard Roper, who I normally agree with a lot, he didn't like it because he felt the last third became like the slasher film, which I completely disagree with. And Manolia Dargis, who is god-awful, and the Gray Lady should do something about her, said there's a boogeyman that appears in the film, but he really doesn't do much for the plot or doesn't do anything. Yes, Manolia only changes the complexion of the story completely, but I guess in your opinion that doesn't mean much.
But she did give it a good review.
It was a weird review that he said he was too...
And The Village Voice gave it a really good review.
She gave Danny Boyle a backhanded compliment by saying he was too clever at times.
The unanimous consensus is that it's a beautifully directed film. It is an intelligent film. It's a well-acted film. There's just a lot of dissension about it due to its last 15 minutes or so. And I was prepared, to maybe have the same impression when I saw it. And I was actually surprised by how bothered I wasn't by it, actually. I thought Boyle made it work somehow.
Well, when I saw the movie, when I originally saw it, I thought it was going to go in one direction. And it didn't go that way. And I was surprised, but yet I still liked it. And then all of a sudden, it went that way, and I was like, whoa, this is a nice surprise.
You know why our show is different? Because we don't give a damn if you've seen the movie or not. We want you to go see it, but spoiler alert, let's go. Edwin, what direction did you think it was going to go in? I want to know. I want to know.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it because some people haven't seen it, and I really want them to see it.
But what direction, without giving away too much?
When I saw it, I thought there was going to be massive, I guess you could say, I thought I was going to be Shallow Grave in outer space. People from the insanity going crazy and killing each other because there's a point in the movie which this is not giving away. There's so many people on board the ship, and the more people on board, the less chance they have of living. I thought someone would go nuts and start killing everybody just to get them off.
Well, you should explain that because of the way the ship is built, the life support systems.
There's some episode. It reminds me of an old Twilight Zone episode from the 80s where a person is told that they're too heavy to land, and they have to get rid of 20 pounds. So the person gets rid of everything on the ship, but they're still 20 pounds overweight.
And
so
there's
has to cut off her legs.
Yeah, that's a famous.
She has to cut off her legs, but instead, because she has a castaway on board, so she has to cut off her legs. But the censors didn't allow it, so she gave herself up.
Honestly, that's not necessarily true. The actual story that's based on is a famous science fiction story, and the actual story is that Stowaway has to be actually the actual original story. I think the original story is more disturbing. The Stowaway is like a young teenage girl, and because she's a stowaway and because the life support system's only for one person, they have to jettison the girl. And now there's been all this controversy about the science behind that. Okay, if this is the future, why wasn't there a sign to warn this girl that that's the case? And but the point taken. You hit upon the point. This is what I love about Sunshine, and this is why you got to see it. And this is why it's intelligent science fiction, not stupid fantasy science fiction. You have a scenario where these characters are completely expendable, and they know it. They're there for a much bigger mission, and that is to save the Earth. And what I love about this,
I don't think they know it from the beginning, though.
No, they do know, and this is why. Because every decision they make, they understand not only they're expendable, but they're expendable by priority. And they know that if they're in a situation, they know that this guy has to survive long enough. They understand that. And usually when you have films like this, you have the one character that's going mad from being out in outer space and ruins it for everybody else. You have the one person who chickens out. You have the other person who's just like the female sexy love interest. In this film, there might be one character that has one moment where they question what they're doing, or another character might have another moment where humanity comes through and they know that it may be that they have to sacrifice for the common good, but they still can't quite bring themselves to do it. But not once do these decisions affect in a negative way what they're really trying to achieve in their mission. And what's also very interesting, without spoiling anything, something happens where they make the decision to detour their mission a little bit. And one of the characters argues
that's not spoiling anything. Explain it.
Well, just basically they have to the long and short of it, one of the characters makes the argument that they're actually ruining their mission and it's going to make it worse for them if they detour it. Other people have the argument, no, this will actually help our mission if we do this. The point is, in other lesser films, which has been a majority of science fiction in the past, usually it's such a blatantly stupid thing that the audience would sit there and say, now, why would they do that? These people are intelligent, they're supposed to be educated people. In this film, whatever decisions they make, there's no way that you could argue decisions.
Basically,
they are valid decisions, and the mistakes that happen are just like fate.
Human error.
I'll give an example. It's like
not just human error, just like you cannot anticipate the things are going to happen. The decision to go to the other spaceship and the argument they make for it is a completely valid argument.
But you didn't explain that, though.
Well, why don't you explain it?
Well, let's explain it. All right. They are the second mission to go to the sun and reignite it to give light to Earth. And
no. They have to drop. The sun is dying. They have to drop a nuclear bomb into its heart, and the nuclear bomb is going to cause the chain reaction to reignite the sun.
And it's all theoretical, which was the most important thing.
Right.
And as they come along, they actually get a beacon of the original ship,
which was sent 7 years earlier.
And I thought, of course, this is just like Alien. That's why
it could be like Alien or Event Horizon.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
See, to me, it reminded me a lot of Event Horizon with this other missing ship.
That's why I kept thinking of that Event Horizon.
Or even Solaris.
And it went to this ship, and of course, I thought everyone's going to go crazy because there's some mistress bacteria or someone goes crazy. It does not go in that direction, which I like. Then all of a sudden it goes into direction. It's like, whoa, I didn't see this coming, or I did, but I didn't think it was going to go this way.
Well, anyways, the point I was trying to make is they make this decision. They find they get the signal from this old ship, which they didn't expect to get, and they make this decision to actually go to that ship rather to continue on their course to the sun. Now, what I liked about this film is the decision to do that was extremely valid. It's well argued.
And well explained.
Right. It's not a convenience for the script
It's
not
like one of those old horror movies where the woman gets the gun, she knocks the guy unconscious, goes, oh, he's dead, when she could just blow his brains
Even when
out.
later on, when it has tragic consequences, when one of the characters points out, it's all your fault that we had to do this because you had to make that decision whether or not we do that, you still sit back and say, yeah, you have a point, but at the same time, it's not really his fault because they had a valid reason to go there. It was well argued, and that's what I liked about this film. Everybody had an intelligent 2 cents to put forth. There was no stupid convenience for the script to get them from point A to point B. It was all very well
But
laid
I mean,
out.
the whole fate of the film was because they shift the coordinates of the film or of the ship to go to the other one. That's where the little bit of human error that I brought up earlier leads to this gigantic catastrophe, and then it sets the wheels in motion.
But the response to that, though, was unexpected. It was an intelligent response. The character who made that decision realized he fucked up. Everyone else was like, okay, you fucked up, so what do we do now?
Yeah.
And that's why I say what I was impressed about the film is that these people realize that they're pretty much expendable when it comes to the big picture of what they're doing.
Because of what you're explaining, I have to give credit to Alex Garland, the screenwriter.
Yes.
He's the one that came up with 28 Days Later, that story behind that, and he comes up with another science fiction gem.
He also did The Beach. It was his novel.
Oh, really?
The Beach was his novel.
Oh, well, once again, the guy keeps following suit. But I was just sitting there watching this film going, Alex Garland has a beautiful imagination. I mean, and he writes things with such a wonderful, I mean, as the film starts out, the ship's psychologist, now you think, other than like Star Trek, what science fiction film about a starship throws a psychologist into it? And to make the psychologist a junkie for sunlight. I mean, this guy is fascinated by sunlight.
But what's beautiful about that is that
Curtis.
it ties into the big ending.
Yes.
You could see that, this other character that comes in without spoiling too much. It ties that
And
in.
I love
why
that character.
Way,
I think the way that character is handled is phenomenal. I don't want to get too much into it because
Which character?
Spoiler. We don't want to get into
Great cast in this movie.
Great
Everybody's
international
Michelle
cast.
Yeoh.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
From top to bottom.
Chris Evans is great in this.
Yeah, and I don't even like him in the other films I've seen him in. He's terrific in this.
Yeah.
He was in Fantastic Four as Johnny Storm.
And what's great about this film, too, if you've seen all these similar science fictions beforehand, Danny Boyle kind of sets you up to think there's these cliches being presented. You have the psychologist on board, and traditionally in other science fiction films that are similar, that's the guy who usually goes crazy first, And then you
kind of wondered about him, too.
And the Chris Evans character, they set you up to think he was like this slacker fuck-up, and he winds up being the most assured.
He's the smartest one on the ship.
It turns out to be, yeah.
Other than the captain.
Well,
right.
I want to give credit to one more thing here because we got to go on and move to talk about other shows. I want to say
Great film.
This is one of the if you love 2001, it's in that similar seriousness.
This actually reminds me a lot of the Andromeda Strain.
It does. It's a lot like
in a lot
Andromeda
of ways
Strain.
too,
It reminds
because of the science.
You know what it is? It takes a lot from Andromeda Strain, 2001, Alien, Event Horizon, all these great
Solaris,
great science fiction films,
2010,
and brings new life into it. And let me tell you, it's really sad. I was heartbroken when Danny Boyle said he'll never do another science fiction film because of the stress and the strain on him. The special effects, he said, were very tough on him. The special effects were worth it because most of them are not CGI.
Visually,
they're all beautiful.
Beautiful film. Beautiful use of special
You will
effects.
not see a more visually arresting film this year. I guarantee it. I mean, people will make a case for the visuals on 300, which I think were fantastic, but this film, the palettes that we get to see that are presented in front of our eyes.
Wonderful sets.
And I'll tell you something right now, and Eric mentioned this earlier. The cast from top to bottom, wonderful. Cillian Murphy, awesome. Chris Evans, a career-making performance. Rose Byrne, Benedict Wong,
Michelle Yeoh, of course.
Michelle Yeoh, Cliff Curtis. I forgot who's the American actor that played the second in command.
I forgot his name.
Who does fear? This guy got scared in the film, and he conveyed it so well.
Instead
the
of going,
panic and the fear.
He was the closest thing to the script construct of having a character panic and potentially ruin it for the rest of the crew. But even then, it was done in a very believable way, and it didn't really, it affected things in very unpredictable ways.
All right, guys, we definitely got to move on.
Let's
But
move on.
the last thing I want to say,
Love this
you
film.
asked me my favorite Danny Boyle film. This is probably it, and it's one of my best films of the year, so look for it at the end of the year list.
Yeah,
definitely. I think we can all agree on that.
Unbelievable.
And Jeff, if you're watching, get your ass out up there and see it now. All right, well, now on a completely, I guess you could say it's unrelated, or maybe it is related. It's a British film, and this time we're talking about Edgar Wright. He's only done 2 films. But
another British filmmaker.
He's another British filmmaker, so I guess that could be our segue. Edgar Wright is a very talented filmmaker. He was very well known for a show called Spaced in England with his actor star of his films,
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
And what's his name?
Nick Frost,
Nick
who's,
Frost.
who's very good. The first film they did was a loving homage to the George Romero zombie films, and most particularly Dawn of the Dead. I got to meet these guys at a screening of this, actually, with our old good friend Steve. I got to meet Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Let me tell you something. These guys really, truly are fans of the genre, and they definitely know it. And if you don't believe it from seeing the film or even talking to them, I don't know what to convince you. This film, from beginning to end, is a wonderful, wonderful, charming, and wonderful homage to Dawn of the Dead, and it really takes, it's kind of, like I say, Monty Python does a Dawn of the Dead film.
I wouldn't say it's Monty, I mean, I could see where you go there.
Monty Python is much more ridiculous.
Yeah,
It was
I
much more
thought that they
ridiculous.
were surprised. I mean, I loved Shaun of the Dead.
Let's say
and
Fawlty
it was one of my
Towers, then.
favorite movies during the year it came out. I wouldn't know, not Fawlty Towers, no, no, no. I would say there was elements that run to slaps. I would say that a better comparison would be American Werewolf in London.
You know, I'll take that back. It's a British version of American.
Because
little
it
bit
is a horror film and a comedy, but it's not one of these it's not like Evil Dead 2 funny, you know, where it's become so gory that slapsticky. It's a film that really respects. It doesn't make fun of zombies. It wants to be a traditional horror film, but has these kind of left field comedic moments too.
Well, the difference between Evil Dead 2 and Shaun of the Dead is Shaun of the Dead went from beginning to end. You watch it and it's clear the filmmaker and everybody involved, the tongue is firmly planted in the cheek. Whereas Evil Dead 2, Sam Raimi must have talked to everybody and said, "Look, this film we're going to do it so serious that it's going to be ridiculous." Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would say that's the difference.
Well, as everyone, I guess we could just say, the thing, too, I love, takes a lot of pot shots and other zombie films. Of course, one of my favorite gags in the movie is when they're listening to the radio and it says, rage-infected monkeys cause virus or something. Oh, bullshit, and turns it off, which is obviously a reference to 28 Days Later, which I thought was hysterical.
Well, it's great. Also, what was good, the setup was really good in that, you know, everybody, you know, there's this sort of lethargic kind of dullness that's just set in these guys' lives and then everywhere else in London. And so you could easily not, you know, you could see a person not realize they're a zombie because they're no different than living people. It's just sort of rhythm that everyone goes through.
Yeah, once
They
again,
capture that really well.
Yeah, once again, it reflects.
So by
George
the time
Romero's-
they realize that there is a zombie thing going on, it's too late. You know, they hadn't been really paying attention. You can see why, and they captured that really well.
Well, yeah, exactly. George Romero's original Dawn of the Dead was his take on American culture, you know, the mall culture.
Right.
Whereas this was, you know, they're taking the piss out of, you know, the day-to-day grind that we all experience, going to work, getting done, you know, shopping for our goods and everything. And you just see how everybody is so into their routine, like you said. It's hard for these slackers to really tell the difference between life people and the zombies because everybody has their own routine. And like I said, it pretty much does an effective job of poking fun of that.
Yeah, that's a very funny point there, as you mentioned. The people's routine is that the girlfriend is so tired of going to this pub for dinner every night that he wants to take her out to Fulci's restaurant. Obvious in-joke there. Can't do it, so of course recommends the pub again, and of course they break up. And of course, to get away from the zombies, where do they go?
The pub, yeah.
The pub, which I thought was a very funny little thing there. I love all the little cameos too. Martin Freeman, I believe, you know, was very,
Oh yeah,
That
well
was a very
Martin
funny
Freeman
moment.
from The Office, and I forgot the actress's name,
plays
Dawn.
yeah, she's on The Office as well. It's a wonderful in-joke movie. Even people who don't really like horror films, I think, will enjoy this.
What about the too polite mother of Simon Pegg's character who doesn't want to bother Simon because she's been bitten and infected? You know, she just doesn't
Even
want
Bill Nye had an interesting, you know, kind of cameo in it as his mother's, you know, current beau or whatever. But
It's really hard to talk about this one because there's just so much to talk, so much to like. There's nothing really to criticize in it.
I must say though that I like the second film or the third film that they did much better.
before we get into the second film, though, we got to talk about the trailer Edgar Wright did
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. That's actually will be, I guess you could say, the second.
for Grindhouse, which you didn't see. What
I
third
did not
film?
see
What
it.
was their? What's they did?
Well, Spaced.
No,
Well,
Space
Space
wasn't a
TV show.
movie. It's a TV show.
Oh, it was a TV
Yeah,
show.
we
Okay.
mentioned. Well, anyway, before we go on this one, Shaun of the Dead is definitely a great, great comedy. In fact, another favorite line. I'm sorry, there's just so much in this movie to love. Is where he goes, "Barbara, we're coming to get you" on the phone, which is the name of his mother, to pick it up.
Right.
Obvious reference to Night of the Living Dead. But I'll give it to you, Grindhouse. Edgar Wright in the trailer.
Grindhouse, the best fake trailer in that movie, I think, is Edgar Wright's. Don't. I loved it. Not just that I loved it because I thought it was the funniest, but I also thought it was the best put together, and it really did look like the kind of film it was making fun of, more than any of the other films.
Oh, I can agree.
I was entertained by Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, but it's kind of obvious gags, and Rob Zombie's wasn't bad, but it felt like a mock trailer.
Oh, I
it
thought
didn't
that was the
feel like
worst
it was
one.
a real film. Whereas Edgar Wright's was kind of so much slyer. In one way, it was very funny as a mock trailer, but at the same time, you sit there and go, that could be a real film that's being promoted. He nailed that 70s Euro horror film look.
Yes, he did.
Perfectly.
It really felt like the Legend of Hell House.
This weird cast that he brought in, like, what's his name? The guy.
Simon Pegg's in it again, and Nick Frost.
Yeah, but are they? I don't remember them being in it.
Nick
Frost
Frost plays
is.
the baby in the basement.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But what's his name? Who plays Lucius Malfoy and Harry Potter, and he's been in all these other films.
Oh,
but
Jason
Isaacs.
Jason's Isaacs, yeah.
And he's got like the perfect 70s hair, kind of like the Roddy McDowall look as they're coming up to the haunted house. And it's just got that whole great, it's wonderful. And it's hilarious.
And have you noticed, too, that no one in the trailer speaks? Because
Right.
in the American trailers in the 70s, they didn't want anyone to know that the films were British, so they didn't speak. They would just say, they'd have a narrator talking over scenes. Don't.
Well, Edgar Wright said that they want to make fun of the fact that, they would like bring these films over to America, and they were probably like these boring like period pieces. So in order to juice them up, they would like try to sell them as exploitation pieces. And he was kind of he wanted to make fun of that. And he just like have all these like random images, which is don't go into the basement, don't go into the apartment. And it's just great. It's my favorite piece.
It's definitely a great, actually, it's probably the best piece, I think, of that and the Eli Roth trailer, the two best pieces in Grindhouse, but that's to be talked about later on a future show, which we will be doing when Mike sees Grindhouse. Well, he has to see both versions of the film.
I got to see both of them.
But let's go on to his next film, which is a film just came out this year, which is Hot Fuzz, which I guess I would like to give the baton over to you, Mike. Talk to me about Hot Fuzz.
I say, this is probably one of maybe the funniest movie of the year. I mean, it's got some competition. I mean, Simpsons movie, Knocked Up. I mean, we had some quality comedies this year, but Hot Fuzz was. I wasn't sure about the premise. I read the premise first, and I thought, this has got to be done well, or otherwise it's going to be terrible. And I watched it, and I tell you, there was so many loud guffaws and belly laughs that I experienced during this film. But it's basically Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and Edgar Wright, the director, once again making fun of and poking fun of the Hollywood super uber action films of the mid to late 80s and early 90s, such as Point Break, Bad Boys, Bad Boys 2.
What movie's going to reference Bad Boys 2 and Point Break? You got to give it credit.
Yeah,
I
mean, bloody awful films. I mean, bloody awful
films. I do
films.
like Point Break. I'm sorry.
It's an awful film, but you can like
Damn
it for its cheese factor. But I mean, they completely send it up, and they do it in such an intelligent way, and it is so funny. And Simon Pegg plays this ultra serious cop that's moved out of London, brought into the countryside, given nothing to do except chase geese and hassle teenagers out of the pub because they're drinking underage. And then he discovers this conspiracy going around this little hamlet that he's in charge of. And I got to tell you, the cast is amazing. Timothy Dalton, Jim Broadbent, Edward
Woodward, Billy Whitelaw.
Billy Whitelaw,
who's wonderful. There's somebody.
Stuart Wilson.
And we got to give credit to, you know what's so great about this movie?
Patty Considine.
Yeah, Patty Considine, one of my all-time favorite actors. So funny because he has that wonderful line like, murder, murder, murder.
The one thing I have to say, though, I thought Shaun of the Dead was a really good movie, and I like it a lot. But Hot Fuzz is better because you know why? It's a better-made movie, and it has a really, really smart script for a comedy. I mean, it was a really good script.
What I also like about, I love Hot Fuzz. It's one of my favorite. Actually, I saw it before it came out here, so I saw it. It was one of my favorite movies from last year. So I saw it in October of last year. So, But the thing is what I love about Edgar Wright and the whole team that works with him is that as funny and ridiculous as both Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz get, there's always this grounded in reality aspect to it, where the characters are not caricatures. Like the Simon Pegg character is basically the best cop ever, and he's so good that's pissing off Scotland Yard. That's why they send him to this like small town to kind of like exile him. But he's a believable character.
That's
It's not
what
like
I'm
a
saying.
Clint
He
Eastwood
does
type
believe it.
or anything like. He just happens to be really good and serious about his job.
And he sells being the tough cop. I believed it.
And in parts where he's tough, but it wasn't overdone.
Overkill.
He wasn't trying to parody Clint Eastwood. He wasn't trying to parody, those kind of types. He was just playing this guy who just happens to be really good, and he doesn't really have much of a social life, And
He's
Nick
a cop.
Frost was
He's
great.
a cop's cop.
And Nick Frost was great. He's a guy who idolizes him, and it's just.
Well, he idolizes him because he recognizes this guy as a cop's cop, and he's also grown up on all this cheesy Hollywood action stuff.
But in a believable way, not in this like overly done, caricatured way. And
Well, yeah, he's not ridiculous. He's a little dim, but I don't know if he's dim, but he's more naive. But then, when halfway through the film, when he starts turning the tables on the cop's cop and starts teaching this guy how to be a better cop through these movies, that's genius. That's genius.
One of my favorite scenes is the movie is where it's at the very end where the person, he's talking about a scene from Point Break and he's talking about shooting his gun in the air, and then he actually is in that same scene and recreates the scene. I nearly died laughing.
Watching,
Wonderful.
yeah, I mean that's a combination because you get to see Jim Broadbent jumping hedges.
Oh,
Or supposedly jumping hedges.
I just love that scene where.
But then when the whole town turns out to be in on this thing and they pull out it gets outrageous. Paul Freeman is the priest, the local priest, Paul Freeman, who was in the last A Good Sunday, and he was Belloc.
But don't you think that the whole conspiracy also, especially when they broke out the robes, was very Cobra-like with Sylvester Stallone? With
it was very Cobra. It's also very kind of Wicker Man-like.
Well, that's why they cast Edward Woodward, as a little gag. I think I really love that it spoofed the Wicker Man in a way. And I'm gonna tell you, the violence in this movie. Oh my God! I thought people were talking about It's very much like Evil Dead 2, the over-the-top gore.
It's very violent, but it's also very like that last bit with Timothy Dalton.
But it's not
how he gets his
mean-spirited.
comeuppance.
It's not mean-spirited.
It hurts, but at the same time, it's very funny.
And we want to admit, it's not mean-spirited violence. It's very funny, over-the-top violence.
Oh, I mean, oh, geez, there's this scene where, I could sit and talk about the scenes till we ran out of time, but
we got tons of time. Go
but
for
there
it.
was this. I just love that. Towards the end of the film, like the last quarter, Simon Pegg's the cop's cop that we've been talking about starts picking up all the lingo from these movies, and just like he quotes a Martin, but what's his name? The guy from Bad Boys 2, Martin
Lawrence. Oh,
Martin Lawrence. He actually quotes Martin Lawrence in the thing. I thought you said we had a ton of time. What the hell?
I thought we did. Well, let's just say
The shit has hit the fan.
All great films. See Sunshine in the theater. Rent Hot Fuzz and rent Shaun of the Dead. Edgar Wright is a talent to behold, and we thank
Danny
you for
Boyle, keep the good work
to see
up.
what Edgar Wright does next.
And
Until
I
next
can't wait
week.
to see what Danny
And tune in
Boyle's
for our
gonna
live
do.
shows and check out our websites.
God bless you, Danny Boyle.
Until next
God
week.
bless
And
you,
I can't
Alex
wait to see
Gardner.
what Michael Foltz does next.
Flex his muscle. That's U.S. Steel right there.
You and your sassy hair, man. Let me tell you.
Oh.